Okay. Okay, right. I think the next question actually on the next slide is there a case for reshaping your approach? And just, I just kind of want you to think about that, that if you're trying to develop all these wonderful skills and abilities that we want our students to develop, we can't just think that research is only for postgraduate students. We need to think about ways of integrating that research all the way across the curriculum and building up those skills. To finish off this morning, I'm going to, did we do any problem-based learning in Module 1? I don't think we did we? So we're going to do a little problem-based learning exercise, which is one way of starting to develop those research skills. And I'm going to give you, each group, a quote to look at. And first 5 minutes, I'll put the timer up, I just want you to brainstorm what that means to you, okay? So, so just while you make some notes on your own there about why you, whether you should change anything that you're currently doing to give a bit more research orientation earlier on in your curriculum, I'll just hand these round to you. Okay, that's your 5 minutes up. Okay, so you've had a very short amount of time to explore that quotation that you were given. And this is the sort of approach that we use in problem-based learning. I'm not going to talk about how you do problem-based learning. Sorry, can you take that outside, please? I'm not going to go through the whole process of problem-based learning. I'm just going to kind of demonstrate how it would work. And this is a kind of workshop model. So you brainstorm the problem. The trigger for the problem is quite, you might say it's quite vague. It's not a specific problem that I'm asking you to solve. I'm just giving you a piece of information that you can explore in any direction that you want. So the idea is that you read that and you generate lots of ideas. What does that mean to you? How does that kind of relate to your practice? The next step is to think about the facts. What do you actually know about that problem? What evidence do you have? Okay, so they're all slightly different quotations. So the next step would then be thinking, well, what do you actually know? Is there any other evidence that contradicts the statement you've been given or agrees with the statement that you've been given? Okay, so that's the next step here, is move on to this step here, facts. So you should have brainstormed the problem, generated some ideas. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you another 5 minutes just to think about what facts, what you actually know about that problem that you've been given, or that trigger that you've been given. Okay? You're great, all silent. So what do you know? You've explored the problem, you've explored the quotation you've been given. What do you actually know about it apart from that quote? Whether from your own experience, your own evidence, is there something you would like to look up? Okay, so I know we're rattling through this really quickly, but it's just to give you an idea of actually how you can start developing some research skills with your students in quite a sort of simple way. And I know we're just chatting to some of you, you're looking at introducing problem-based learning, and I will explore it a little bit more with you tomorrow. But the next step after you've done this is you've got some facts, you've got some ideas. Some of that, obviously, because of the way that we're doing this, will just be your own experiences, your own ideas. You would then start to think about, well, what's your gap in your understanding? Where do you have to go and get more information? Where would you get more information to try and solve this problem? And we would then spend a bit of time thinking about where you would go with that. And after that, the last stage is to go and decide what the action plan is. So if you're doing this with students, you might get them to hear in the first week, get them to go away and come back with some evidence, and then come back again with an action plan the following week. And then they come back a step after that with the information that they've generated. Now, I'll give you the full slides on this. This is what I call my workshop model to problem-based learning, which is just the kind of the generative stage, the discussion stage. But you can see in this process that there's a lot of the skills that we talked about over here are being developed very quickly in terms of that questioning the evidence. What do you know? What's the evidence base? What other resources are available for you to find out the information? Questioning the evidence, questioning what you know personally, what you believe. If someone in your group says, well, I believe this, you can ask them, well, what's the evidence for that? So it's starting to get those questioning skills going away. Self-evaluation, group evaluation. What's our gap in our knowledge and understanding about this topic? Okay, this is something we haven't thought about before. We haven't thought about, how universities do research, how we engage students in research. So what's the gap in understanding? Is there some literature that you need to go and explore? And then your last stage, as an action plan, just thinking what do you think an outcome of this kind of process would be for you personally as an action plan? Anybody got any thoughts what they might do having gone through this process? Anybody? I know I've jumped ahead 2 steps for you, so it's a little bit difficult. But you might go away and it depends which quote you had and which directions, but you might sort of think about using something like this in one of your classes to develop better research skills, or try to have conversations in your university about what you mean by research, or within your course team about what you mean by research. So there's lots of different ways that you can think about an action plan coming out of that. Anybody got any comments about that? I know we've kind of rushed very quickly through it, but we'll have an opportunity to do another problem-based learning exercise either this afternoon or tomorrow. Yeah?
Actually, I think problem-based learning includes the topics yesterday that we learned, because first we have to give the knowledge about the problem, then understand it,
Yes.
then apply,
Yes.
and evaluate,
Yes.
analyze, create.
Yes.
Yeah, this
Yes.
topic is going up.
Yes.
So problem-based learning includes all of these topics. So
Yeah.
it's really effective technique.
It is because it takes people through that whole spectrum.
Yeah, whole spectrum. So yeah, we should also do our action plan
Yes.
in this
Yeah,
topic.
in this way,
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. Okay, we're definitely going to come back to this, so please don't feel that I've rushed you through this. Well, I have rushed you through it, but it's just really to start you thinking about how you integrate those research ideas into your everyday teaching. Coming back to that idea that we need to get students thinking about that from the first year. I just want to go back to the very last slide of this other presentation. Okay, so this really just sort of sums up what we're thinking about in terms of students progressing through their degree program when they're understanding research. So in the first year, when they arrive, they probably come to you with, you know, I've read this information in a textbook, I've read it well on the internet, what have you, even less certain, but they come with this idea that knowledge is quite certain. You know, there's certain foundations of knowledge, and they're not going to be changed, they're set in stone. They might be very reliant on you or teachers as a source of authority, of knowledge. And their value system identity is very much externally defined. But thinking about knowledge, we're very much up here, okay? So they come in the first year thinking about, they're just recipients of information, okay? They're not thinking for themselves, they're not questioning, they're not critiquing. And what we want to do as we progress through university is evolve this awareness that there's multiple views on things. So even within science, the foundation of knowledge has moved, but certainly in the social sciences and humanities, there's different perspectives. In economics and politics, there's going to be different perspectives on topics, and it's making sure that they evolve that awareness, and also beginning their own awareness of their own identity, their own views, their own values coming into play there when they're evaluating that information. And then the capstone, the research project at the end, they get this idea that knowledge is contextual and it can change and it's not set. And obviously developing their own internal belief systems, their own values to bring to bear on that. And we can't expect students to become these independent critical thinkers in the final year if we're not progressing them through the degree programme. So we've really got to think about how the different levels of learning go through the programme and how we scaffold that and support students to do that. Okay, anybody got any questions about that, or comments or ideas or points? You all just want to go to lunch? Okay, great. Well, thanks very much for all your enthusiasm this morning. We'll meet back at 2 o'clock, ready for the last session of the day. Idea of research, whereas actually you are developing these intellectual skills and scaffolding the research process, although you're not actually calling it research. And I think it might benefit both yourselves and your students to start helping them think that those are research skills they're developing, so that it's not something new, that you're training them to be researchers within their discipline. And certainly I think there's still a space for looking at all of your activities to try and make sure that you're scaffolding that through the curriculum, so they get an idea of developing those skills, whether it's through the methods or the processes of challenging and questioning, and that is supported from the first year all the way to the final year. So this afternoon we're going to look at these other types of skills, sort of the professional and discipline-specific ones, but also those core skills, which kind of go up to making, in the UK we call it employability, thinking about what a successful graduate looks like, what do they need to be successful. And I think this kind of idea of employability is now becoming more prevalent across the higher education sector across the world. So do you use this term within your own curriculum, the employability of your graduates? Not really, right, okay. So I will refer to it as employability, but when you think about it, it's really thinking about what are the skills that we need to make a successful graduate, and that's really going to be the focus of our attention. So what does it take to be successful? Okay, can you get out your phones or your tablets, because I just want to kind of gather up some of your ideas for this, the same as we did yesterday with the answer garden. If I can find it. So what does a successful graduate look like? So this is building on the ideas that I spoke to you about yesterday about thinking about what your graduate attributes should be. So you might want to think about what you had there. So the number for this one is, so it's answergarden.ch, and the number is 495207. 495